Hello. Today I'm going to go over Frederick Griffith Transformation Mini Lecture. Frederick Griffith was a scientist in the early 1900s, and he was studying bacteria, different forms of bacteria that were involved with pneumonia. So people getting sick and getting pneumonia, which is actually, pneumonia still kills people on a regular basis. And these two strains that he was looking at, a rough strain and a smooth strain, were only slightly different. The smooth strain here had a coating around it. So it had like a sugar coating. So it had some structural differences, but the bacteria basically worked the same way. They had the same life cycles. And in his experiments, he took each strain and injected them into mice to see what would happen. Now, the first ones, the rough strain, which again were structurally different than the smooth just because of the coatings around the outside. The rough strain, when he injected it into the mice lived. So there was no negative effects towards the mice when they had this bacteria inside of them, injected into them. The smooth strain, when he injected that into the mice, in this case, all the mice died. So the bacteria were both in the mice going through their regular processes, but it's just the smooth strain that was lethal to the mice, okay, not the rough strain. The next step was to see what would happen if he killed this smooth strain. So bacteria are living organisms. You can kill them in a number of ways. What he did was to kill them with heat. So he raised the temperature of the solution, killing the bacteria, and then he injected them into the mice. So the idea there is there any difference between the live version and the dead version? And he found out there was. When he put the smooth strain heat killed into the mice, they ended up living. They lived. So something was going on here where only the live version was going to kill the mice, the dead version did not. The next step then, because again, he's trying to understand how they're trying to get some basic ideas of genetics and how genetic material is passed between organisms. The next step was to take the same heat-killed smooth strain here, in which the mice lived. You can see the stars, right? And the rough strain here, and this was a living version of the rough strain, and mix them together. Now, the results for both of these individually was that the mice lived, but when he mixed them together, the mice actually died. So then the question is, why were the mice dying when both of these previous strains, the heat-killed and the rough, put together, or individually, the mice lived? And what this suggested was that there was somehow a transformation or a process of exchange between the heat-killed bacteria and the living rough bacteria. So somehow there was some material that was passing instructions onto the living, healthy, rough strain here. And we know that now as like a genetic material that we would find in DNA. But they didn't know about that yet. They just knew that something was being passed back and forth between them. Even though this one was dead, the DNA, which they didn't know at the time, was still viable and could pass genetics onto the healthy, rough strain, killing the mouse. All right, This is just the first step. Now there's other experiments that will be used to figure out that it was actually DNA and not some other components. All right, I hope this helps. Thanks.